All right, hey, so I figure I have enough to say about this. So, if you haven't checked the news today, anime dubbing voice actor Rachel Lillis died today, and everyone was just immediately like, "Oh God, rest in peace! Such a tragedy, so young, etc., etc." We'll always remember her, but the thing of it is, I don't think anyone's really like taking into account the tragedy of her death, and I feel really bad about this because I did start to look into it, and the more I look into it, the worse it looks. So, if you've never heard of Rachel, she's best remembered as the original voice of Misty and Jessie and Jigglypuff, and a handful of other Pokemon in the original 4Kids stuff of Pokemon from 1998 to 2006. She also briefly did Revolutionary Girl Utena before that, which is also pretty prolific and also well remembered. She started voice acting at the age of 19 in 1997, and she was pretty much locked into the anime industry after that. She briefly babbled as being a strict translator and an adaptator, but she mostly kept to voice acting. Her last official role was playing Coco in the unfinished remake of Hunter x Hunter. But ironically, and kind of an icky story, is the story of her last theatrical role, which was reprising Jigglypuff in Detective Pikachu, except she kinda did and kinda didn't do that, and she didn't do it willingly. So in kind of a shitty story, famously Lillis was fired off the Pokemon anime when the Pokemon Company took over running Pokemon for the United States, and they fired all the original 4Kids voice actors and didn't give any of them a chance to renegotiate their contracts or switch teams. And it was a pretty big deal. Honestly, I stopped watching Pokemon after that because the new voice actors just didn't feel the same. Anyway, after that, what extra sucked for her was because she had also been voicing Jessie, Misty, and Jigglypuff in like all the video games like Smash Brothers and any video game where it mattered. So like, think back to the early N64 era. There were games like Pokemon Snap, Puzzle Fighter, Smash Brothers, and its sequel, Smash Brothers Melee. So yeah, Rachel apparently recorded new lines for each of these games back in the day as Jigglypuff. And the last time she did this was in Smash Brothers Melee as Jigglypuff. And then after that, because 4Kids and the Pokemon Company didn't have a deal anymore, those lines were just wholeheartedly recycled from game to game up into Smash Brothers Brawl, Smash Brothers 4, and over again all the way up to Smash Brothers Ultimate on the Switch. And then furthermore, the exact same recordings were also then recycled into Detective Pikachu the movie as well. Now, I generously want to assume she got paid royalties for that, but I really don't know. And honestly, it doesn't seem like she was, unless like she didn't mention it, but she kind of left a totally angry message on Twitter complaining that even though she was credited for the new movie, she wasn't contacted about it, and she would have preferred to do her own new recordings. But once again, I'm really curious with like the shade she's throwing here, that whether or not they paid her for that one. Anyway, so then the pandemic happened, and by all accounts, she retired because of the pandemic, or maybe she just was forced to because she was unable to get voice acting gigs. But she started doing convention appearances again by 2021, but unfortunately where the story takes its darkest turn is recently in 2024. So back in May, 4 months ago, Rachel got diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately, as an American citizen, if you're young, if you're below the age of retirement and you don't have a job, then you just don't get health care. So Rachel had no health care, and it was a bad situation. Her sister started a GoFundMe page for her, and her fans pitched in, and they just almost managed to raise 98% of her $100,000 goal. But today she died, and she died 4 months after being diagnosed with cancer, and she probably didn't die in a good place. It seems like she died directly due to the complications of not having health insurance, a terrifying reminder of why the gig economy is a ticking death trap for anyone stuck inside it. I met her once as a kid at an anime con in New York. I was probably 14 back then, and I guess based on the math, she was probably 21. She kind of terrified me. She had intense old lady vibes even at that age, but I honestly thought at the time she was a lot older. Anyway, I forget what I said to her, but I think I offended her, but then she forgave me later because I was just a little kid. Anyway, that's the story. It's not that long a story, but I think I don't have anything else to add, but it's suspicious and sad and very unfortunate that she went out this way. And I kind of think more people should be upset that she probably would still be alive today if it wasn't for the fucked U.S. unemployment-based healthcare system. All right, that's all I gotta say about that. Later.